Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 483. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me for a special Thursday morning edition of the MMA Roadshow.
Right. No beers. It's coffee right now.
It's just coffee right now. No frosty beverages. It is before 10 a.m. in the morning. Even us do have limits as to when we start consuming the frosty beverages.
Well,
not really.
10's like your wheelhouse.
10 would be okay, except we have work to do today. Otherwise, I would have to. So I guess we'll have to pull the curtains back, and I think even we have to decide whether or not. Now, there's one of two reasons that we are doing this as a special edition on Thursday morning. One is the fact that it was a long media day yesterday, right? There were 17 interviews in total, 16 between UFC 303 and one with Paige Van Zandt herself.
Yep.
Ahead
That's
of her
the one
Power
everybody
Slap
was waiting
debut.
for yesterday.
Definitely.
They saved the best for last.
Best for last. Power Slap debut. Changed out the background and all that. So there was that, and that was a long day, right? And then on top of that, we went to go get details about the Sphere and to get the Noche UFC first look. So we had that function as well. So we had to go from the UFC Apex to the Las Vegas Strip, and then once the reveal had been done and we got a chance to speak with UFC Women's Flyweight Champion Alexa Grasso, it was just kind of a long day. We had put in quite a few hours, so that's reason number one, perhaps. Perhaps. Now, I'll let you decide which one is the reason we ultimately made the call, because I think we made the call in unison, but I don't know that we necessarily discussed with the staff what the entire logic was. I think it was just, we just kind of were on the same page. But reason two that we're doing a special Thursday morning edition that it would be the special spicy margaritas that they were making at the Wynn last night, because they were damn good, and I had a lot of them.
They were fantastic. I don't know what it was, because when you looked at the margarita itself, there were no flecks of like something that would make you think that it was spicy. Like you would think they'd put chili powder or something in there. Yeah. It was like, I think, jalapeno juice or something. And it was the most just like you just smack your lips as you're drinking. And I was like, after the very first drink, I was like, oh, I'm going to be talking to this guy a lot tonight.
I don't even want to count how many I had.
Yeah. It was more than one. We each had more than one.
We did each have more than one. Maybe two?
We had more than one and less than a boatload.
Depends on the size of the boat, sir. Depends on the size of the boat.
Canoe was definitely had.
I'm not, what's funny is I'm not like a big margarita guy, to be honest with you. Like, it's not a drink that I would typically go out and order. And to be honest with you, it's definitely not a drink I would order like at the Wynn.
And like 10 of them. Like, you would not do that. You would definitely not
I'm order
do that.
10 of like whatever I'm drinking. Let's just be honest. But it was a damn, like if they were open today to go back and get some more, I'd go get some more.
They were so good. I did have that sort of like itchy throat like later on in the evening that you get from like that mix.
The sugary and
that mix. Yeah. So I got that, but I didn't care because I had a nice little buzz on. I don't really drink much, so like I was happy that I was like, well, first I should get praised for leaving the house, like after the media day, I had no intention of going anywhere.
Bro, so you were like, I'll probably see you down there, right?
Probably.
And so Pear rode with me. He was like, hey, you mind if I catch a ride or whatever? And we're like, yeah, we show up. And me and him showed up because we didn't take the shuttle from the Apex. We show up, and Sandu was already there, actually, standing in line waiting to get in. And so it was just the three of us walked up, and Sandu was like, hey, what's up, guys? Good to see you. I'm in town. Where's Kenny? And Pear was like, oh, he's not coming. I was like, this son of a bitch already done told me. He told me, no, I'll probably be down there. I'll see you down there, and then we can do the show maybe after. Or we come to my house, or maybe, whatever the case may be. And then Pear, and Pear just like deadpans everything.
That's it. I think that's just Pear.
It's not even like, because, look, he's Pear. Some people are like, I kind of heard he might not make it or something. Pear's just like, he's not coming.
What's funny, because he was going to try to catch a ride, and I was like, well, I got to run home. I got to take some stuff, and I'm still iffy if I'm going to get back in the car and drive back over to the Apex. But luckily, it was a quick ride. But honestly, at the end of the day, I was glad I did, because it was good.
It was a fun time.
It was good catching up with some people.
Got to see our man AL3 was there spinning in the background.
Which we didn't even know, because it was playing like mariachi music and other stuff.
And then he was like hidden back around the corner.
And then at one point he walks around and was like, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, I've been spinning all night. I was like,
that's what the music is.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
So that leads us all to, we got done, And basically, I think we both looked at each other, and you were just like, "So podcast," and I was like, "Tomorrow,
tomorrow,
yes,
let's do it."
Here we are, Thursday morning.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to talk about UFC 303, of course, but I guess since we're talking about the Sphere reveal,
do you want to talk about whatever this reveal was?
Yeah, I was going to say this time. I thought, to be honest, okay. I thought we were going to get some more details than we did.
At least a presentation?
Right. Something. But I get it. I mean, look, we got to see the artword for the first time. Alexa Grasso. Now, we did get some information. And
it was just us that saw the artwork. The Sphere told everybody else in Vegas, don't look up. This is only for the people at the
Come on, man. Come on. Why are you being so sour like that? It was funny, though, because I heard, like, all the broadcast partners had, like, what is it? Hold it. What's the words?
Embargo.
They had an embargo until like 8 p.m. Eastern, or 8 p.m. Pacific was when it was supposed to debut.
It actually went before 8 as well.
Right. But it wasn't supposed to. So everybody had everybody has their artwork and their graphics and their socials and everything ready to go. Yeah. And they were told to wait till 8. And then, as you said, it aired.
Because I want to say like 7:30ish or something, like, because everybody was outside, and then you started hearing everybody like rush to the balcony edge, and I was like, what is everybody doing? And I ran out there, and it was just everybody was looking at the Sphere. I was like, oh, it's the advertising on the Sphere. I was like, that's what that big run of folks
everybody
was.
wanted to go get the artwork. So everybody got their social clip. And to your point exactly, it's not as if you had to be in that meeting to see the Sphere. Like, it's everywhere. So all the poor broadcast partners and stuff, they're like, we gotta wait till 8.
But it was funny because even the UFC said that after we saw that, and then they're like, the reveal's coming at 8. I was like, But we just saw it. I was like, all right. So then I was thinking, okay, at 8 o'clock, it's going to be different. Something else is happening. 8 o'clock rolls around. It's the exact same thing. And I was like, what are we waiting? What were we waiting for?
I thought maybe, well, and it's funny, too, because I thought maybe they're just waiting for it to be dark because you get like an even, because it's vibrant during the day, but it's even more vibrant at night. But even at 8, it's not dark yet. It doesn't get dark till the left.
What's the biggest thing that you saw that you took away that was the biggest surprise? That I know my biggest surprise that I saw from the artwork.
I already know what you're going to say. Yeah. We look. I think we.
That was news to me.
So I think I talked about this on an and a half episode. Maybe not here with you. Yes, it's presented by Riyadh Season, right? So it's Riyadh Season Noche UFC. I will say that I'll be honest with you. I think it's a little bit weird because it's
kind of weird.
It's not. I understand that Riyadh Season is a branch. It's just weird. Like if it was EA Sports' Noche UFC or whatever, or
an American company that's used to sponsoring sports stuff.
Yeah, and I don't even say like an American company, just a company, not like an extension of It's weird to me that it is a foreign government sponsoring a celebration of another nation's independence Day.
But even on this, since when you say like EA, say if it makes sense that a sports company or a game company is sponsoring a sports event,
right?
So this is the UFC's putting on a sports event, but they're having another company and another entity that's happened to be run by another country support their own product in here, which happens to be a thing. So it's weird. So is Riyadh going to sponsor UFC 307? Or they just wanted, for some reason, do the Sphere because it's so much money.
Yeah, they want to
I think it's also so much money that Dana's like, I don't want to foot the bill.
I agree.
For this Sphere thing that's going to cost a crazy amount of money.
I think it's it definitely works both ways. Number one, we know how expensive this event is, and so they need to get the biggest title sponsor they can.
And what are they going to put? What are people going to put their eyeballs on? If you had to pick one event out of the year,
the Sphere.
What event?
You see it. Everything goes viral with the Sphere, right? So
a one-off show.
So for Riyadh Season, I can see why they're like, look, if we're going to sponsor a show, I want that show. I want the biggest show you have.
Much more so than like a Madison Square Garden, which is a huge show, which would be a huge event, end of the year event or whatever. There's going to be nothing bigger than this. It still felt weird for me seeing it in big letters up there.
Maybe it's, and again, and to me, and I want to be clear, it has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. Like, I'm not making this a political thing or whatever.
But that's
but it'd be any. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. To me, it's just a nation sponsoring a celebration of another nation's Independence Day. Like, that's weird to me. But here's the other weird thing too. Now, we don't have a main event yet, right? Not official. Well, so I was going to say
that's what I thought the reveal was going to be.
I did too. That's the news we did get, and we did get something. I want to talk about that. But here's the other thing too. And we've heard that rumors of Ilia Topuria and Max Holloway could headline there. We've also heard that might be the pay-per-view that's going to be in Salt Lake City in October as well. That's going to be from what we're hearing, that's going to be a 2 pay-per-view month.
And they still wanted to do something in Spain. I thought Dana said they were going to Spain this year.
I don't think it's going to happen this year.
I know, but that's what's kind of weird because they said they were going to go, and it's like
they wanted to.
I guess not.
Okay, let's do a little history lesson here. Mexico, their Independence Day is September 16th. Who did they defeat to gain their independence?
Don't know. Who was it?
That would be Spain. So if you have an Independence Day celebration with a Spaniard in the headline. Now, it was funny because I was kind of likening it to what if we had a 4th of July celebration and Michael Bisping was the headliner. Now, I don't think that's a...
We'll do our 4th of July event in Manchester.
That might be better. Because it was funny because I said that and I was like, well, everybody loves Bisping. So, like, you wouldn't think about it. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a beloved figure. Ilya,
I imagine how that fight week would be with his banter throughout the week. It would be brutal.
Because he would embrace it. Because he loves it. It would be amazing. 100%. So that's interesting because we've heard Ilya Max was the leading candidate. I do wonder. Now I've also heard that maybe it could be in Utah in that Salt Lake City event, and I do wonder if maybe somebody did realize it. Because look, it would be really easy to just overlook that and not get it. You know what I mean?
Because I could easily see them not doing it, and Dana's like, get over it, guys. This is fighting. This is whatever.
He speaks Spanish. They share a language. They share a common culture.
Same. Come on.
When you wake up salty.
I'm jumping into Dana's role.
Those jalapeno margaritas and all that salt you took in last night.
It's not me. It's Dana. I'm channeling Dana.
All right, so you can't. So we agree, right? You can't have a Spaniard headlining UFC Noche.
I mean, until you guys really brought it up last night, I didn't think anything about it. But once you guys said it, I was like, ooh. That would be bad if we're really trying to embrace it, But that's this whole thing. Like, I guess I was glad to see the fact that it's still Noche.
Yeah.
And the way that everything seemed sort of was trending, it was going to be more just the Sphere. It was going to be UFC 306 / UFC Noche. Like maybe Conor's going to be the guy on the card, and then is it really UFC Noche still? You're going to have the fighters that are on the card wanting that pay-per-view. Like, we don't care.
Right.
Let Conor come. But then the whole thing of like this event's supposed to be this big. Mexican embrace, blah, 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 but then you don't have a main event that was the Mexican, or if you start getting away from it, it just felt like, are they still doing it? So when they went all in, we saw the artwork, it's like, okay, yes, this is UFC Noche, that's what it is,
So to clarify real quick, because I did see, I think some misinformation got reported out there.
I think you're going to talk about what I was just about to ask
you. It is still UFC 306.
UFC 306.
It is, so it's both. So
it always was.
Right.
I mean, that's from the very beginning. It was always UFC 306 and it was going to be UFC Noche.
Right.
And then it started feeling like it was peeling away from a little bit. So I'm glad that it's still the same.
It is still both. And that was confirmed by press release. It was confirmed by press release. So it's not just this reporting or somebody said. Like, they sent out a press release announcing it. Also, for the and I actually tweeted this out last night. The Sphere hasn't responded to me yet, or whatever. But I was like, I want to.
I saw your tweet. I was like, is that margarita texting?
It was a little margarita texting, but that is like danced up, man.
I think it is just Sphere.
It is just Sphere. Like, if you look at the press release, so basically, I tweeted out
Sphere, Las Vegas.
I want them to clarify what it is, just to make sure. But if you look at the press release that came from UFC Corporate Communications, it does say. UFC names Riyadh season title partner for Epic UFC 306 at Sphere in Las Vegas, and all throughout it's just Sphere. So
because it used to be according to Wiki, it used to be the MSG Sphere.
It was the MSG Sphere,
MSG Sphere, and I think they just chopped off the MSG part at the beginning.
That's it. So it's just Sphere. So when you refer to it, it's not the Sphere with a lowercase t or a capital T. It's just Sphere. And yes, there was the margaritas talking, but I do want to get it right.
It's so funny when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, this is margarita brain.
Yes,
margarita brain.
This was me laying in bed before I fell asleep having margaritas.
I legit chuckled when I saw it because I saw the time and I saw where we were at, and I was like, holy cow, this is Morgan's margarita brain 100%. Just chatting.
I just needed to talk to somebody. My wife was already asleep.
I'm going to text the Sphere.
Yeah. It's exactly those. But I do want to get it right. Danced up, man. I mean, best editor I ever worked for. It's. I mean, look, that's just common. It's right. Like, you need to make sure when you refer to something, especially something with a formal name, that you get it right. The funny one, I know the big one is funny. The O2, because there's there's 3 or 4 different O2s, and they're all named different ways. Is it?
Did they rebrand it?
No.
Or are those two
there's a different venue.
ones?
Yeah, there's a different venue. But yeah, I know that's
not
one
confusing.
because there's 3 or 4 different O2s, and one is the O2 with a capital T, one is lowercase. And again, at the end of the day, people are gonna know what you're talking about. But if you're writing copy, you should be getting it right. You should be getting it right. You should be taking time to get it right. So, but yes,
it's kind of funny because every time you say it, it's hard to not say the Sphere. It's taking place at the Sphere, and they're like, no,
it's Sphere.
It's taking place at Sphere.
Right.
That sounds idiotic. That sounds so bad, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna go. That's like saying.
Well, honestly,
we're gonna go at building down the street.
Well, it should be. I think we got into this one time back in this place I used to work at. But technically, it's not the Apex; it's Apex.
Yeah.
So you should say the event is at Apex or UFC Apex.
I always
it's
say
not
UFC
at
Apex.
the Apex.
Yeah.
We got into this one time with people that I worked with at one point. But anyway, so all right, look. So we did get a little bit of news, right? So Alexa Grasso was there. She did an interview. Now, nothing is confirmed. As you said, we thought we were going to get an announcement, right? Yeah. She did not make an announcement. But she did say, as we were talking to her, she did say, I'm proud to be a part of it. Now, I'll be honest with you. A, was a couple margaritas in at that point, and B, didn't want to press her to, like, get her in trouble if she wasn't supposed to say something, because it was all just kind of a weird situation. We were all just kind of on the fly, going together, and I actually saw her
because everybody's assumed that at that point that she was on it, and everybody assumed whatever, 100%. But nothing's.
By the way, it was
been actually official.
I had totally forgotten about that custom belt. She had the custom
belt.
Isn't
it badass?
It's just super cool, man. It looks so cool. But anyway, she said, "I'm proud to be a part of this event." I didn't press her on it because again, we all kind of assume she is. I talked to her just kind of in generic questions about fighting Valentina Shevchenko again, and she was like, it'd be a great honor, this, et cetera. Talk about the Ultimate Fighter, et cetera. Then it boils down to, as the questions continue, that she basically she's like, so you are fighting on this date? And she's like, yeah, I'm fighting. It's like, so has it been announced? Or I can't remember how the questions went, but basically she just said, look, I'm fighting on this date, and if Valentina Shevchenko does not want this date, I'll be happy to fight Manon Fiorot instead.
Yep.
Because Valentina Shevchenko has stated, hey, I feel like she kind of got an unfair home field advantage with it being a UFC Noche. I'm not sure I want to compete in this trilogy bout under that set of circumstances. Meanwhile, obviously the UFC wants to have their Mexican champion at this Mexican celebration.
Yep.
Clearly, you could see what it meant to Alexa Grasso to be a part of the celebration and to be a part of this honor. So she's saying, hey, if Valentina doesn't want it, Manon Fiorot will step up and take it. I posted that on social media last night. And, oh, by the way, Nima Safapar, a good friend of mine, manager of Manon Fiorot, replied on my Instagram. He's like, Manon will take that date.
Yep.
So they're ready to go. I'm interested.
I mean, the ball's in Valentina's court. I mean, like you did the tough, you did the coaching, and if you have a chance to make sure that you guarantee the title shot, take it.
I agree.
If you're not willing, somebody else will step up. Like if she doesn't realize that Alexa's going to be on that event, if you think it's unfair, fine, take the winner of her and Manon, but understand what you're resolving yourself to. Don't think like, oh, hey, I'm going to convince Dane and them to take this and put the trilogy somewhere else. It's not going anywhere else. If you want to fight for the belt, this is your chance. It's not. If not, fine, step off to the side. But I mean, you did the work. I'm sure she got paid for the Ultimate Fighter. It's great when we can actually see coaches fight. Now it seems to be a possibility that maybe the tough coaches fight. We've seen that hasn't happened in the past. We've seen that it's currently not happening. It seems to be the new norm. If you're going to use it, great. But it'd be silly for her to think that it's going to go anywhere else and then it wouldn't be something else. I mean, and it's weird hearing that come from her because she's always been so dominant and so confident that it's always felt like anytime, anywhere. And then obviously those last fights, well, you can't really think the first one because the first one you got beat. The second one, I thought that she did do enough to win.
Right.
So I can understand where she's upset about that. But if you're going to let that and think that, okay, it really was the judges that were, favoring the Mexican fighter and you're going to not fight for the title, then you're already in your head. You're at the point where now you're making excuses before the fight's already happened. That's like going in beaten before you're actually fighting. And that's maybe the wrong mindset. So if that's what you have, then, yeah, I guess don't fight, but back out. And let somebody else fight for it.
I mean, you have to. You have no choice, right? I mean, as you said, she's fighting. It's interesting because, look, Valentina, I mean, look, she is a driven individual. Yeah. It is not hard to see. And I could see her, like, wanting to micromanage every possible variable that she can. But, yeah, man,
it's crazy. It literally feels like it's a changing of her mindset. Like, we've just seen her so – she would walk through a wall. She believes she could walk through a wall. She'll walk through the wall. So to see this, it's almost like the first I don't want to call it mental weakness, but the first weakness in her, like being unsure of what her skill set.
I mean, I totally get her being like, hey, when she said it, I honestly didn't think it was terrible to be like, hey, I think she kind of got a home field advantage because it was Mexico. I could see that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I could see her saying, so if we can do it as not Noche UFC, I would prefer to do it that way.
Yeah.
But then the UFC comes back and says,
it's gonna be.
but she's the champ. This is our Mexican Independence Day celebration.
We need to have her
on
it.
It's at the Sphere. We need to have her on it. And this is the fight we want to make.
And for that, why would you skip, even outside the title, the Sphere is going to be a one-off, and so many eyeballs are on this. Yes. Why would you skip that opportunity to showcase in front of possibly more people than you ever? Especially with the Riyadh season getting involved, it's going to get more push overseas than 100%. It would have been a lot before. Like, it's going to be a worldwide pushed event.
Great point.
So it's like, why would anybody skip this? I understand it, and, just don't leave it to the judges. Don't leave it to the judges if you're that worried. Make it, a point. And I say that, tongue in cheek, because obviously they try to not leave it in the judges.
But you're saying use that as a driving
factor.
Use that
as a driving factor.
We got to finish this fight. We can't give them the option.
Right.
You know what I mean? We know they're against us.
Yeah.
We know they're going to take us out. We got to finish this fight. We can't count any rounds. 5 minutes doesn't matter. We got to get it finished.
Now chase that chicken. You sound like you were like Rocky. What was it, Mickey?
Mick.
I was like, oh, hey, get him, Rock, get him, get him. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, it's such a big thing that use it to motivate you to do whatever, but don't pass the possibility of one of the biggest events you're ever going to take part in for the rest of your career.
So
this is going to be one of the biggest one-offs ever.
If you had to predict,
I think she's going to still do it.
I agree.
I think she's smart enough to understand that if she gives up that opportunity, there's no guarantee you get a shot. Say Manon gets him, Manon's like, nah, I ain't feeling you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the UFC's like, oh, we love you, we respect you, but we got to push you back a little bit or whatever, and you're going to wait. I think she's too smart to let the opportunity. It could all just be posturing right now.
And again,
let Alexa and them not be unsure of who they're training for, while the whole time Val knows that she's training for or whatever. I think she's too smart to pass it up.
I agree.
It's gonna be too much money, too many eyeballs.
I agree. I think she shows up, but I thought it was interesting. Alexa's
so main event.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Because
the question was brought up. What if Conor shows up? And Alexa, to her credit, was just like, that'd be amazing.
Yep.
Because
that's Alexa for you right there.
Right.
She understands. She's happy to be part of it, but she understands. She's a team player. She's not going to be one like, I better be the one. She's just like, I just want to be a part of it.
Right.
I'm proud to represent my country. I'm proud to represent my people. Let's do this. I don't care.
I love it. But it is
But would it only be Conor?
So look, I'm torn on this, right? Yeah. I think it'd only be Conor. I think the only.
What if they came back and Jones is like, I'm ready to go?
Nah, Jones is doing MSG. Stipe's going to be at the Hall of Fame supposedly tonight.
Is he?
Yeah. Hopefully he'll give us an update. But I'm sure.
Is he on the carpet?
Is he supposed to be on the red carpet?
Is he on the carpet? I think. Maybe we did request him.
So hopefully get a little bit.
There was there's a long list of people. So I can't remember who we reached out
between
for.
that and UFCX, and I love what they did though. They're actually trying to get a little bit more organized with it all. So anyway, I think Jones and Stipe will be MSG. Obviously Jones, the New York ties. That makes all the sense in the world. And you could do Jones and Stipe at the Sphere. You could do anything at the Sphere, I guess. Conor would make sense. I still feel like Conor's been talking about the Sphere for a while, right? Yeah. He's like, hey, me and Nate could do.
Bro, toes heal pretty quick. And at that point, that picture or whatever, I know he said it right above. But even if it wasn't broken, what is that, like 2 months?
So here's what's interesting.
If that, you probably need a good solid month before you could really train on it, and then he's just rehashing it. He could be ready 2 months after that point.
100%.
When is the Sphere? That's
2.5 months from now. He could easily do.
Conor.
Bro,
it's gotta be.
Bro,
it's gotta be.
So here. By the way, before we get to Conor, did you see Dustin Poirier's tweet the other day?
Huh.
He's like, some people took it as a retirement tweet, but he was like, toe to toe, I've gone with the best of them. I'm like. Troll. Awesome. Dustin Poirier just trolling. He's like toe to toe with the best in the world.
Somebody been drinking some spicy margaritas that day. He was feeling spicy.
Oh man, I love it. All right, so I'm not gonna lie to you, right? So he was angling for the Sphere, and he was talking about it, right? When he withdrew, that was the first thing I thought about. Now,
is that he was withdrawing for the Sphere?
For the Sphere, Dana, or I'm sorry, for Sphere.
Yeah,
I got that wrong. I said the Sphere. Dana seemed to me, when it was brought up in Saudi Arabia, Dana seemed kind of annoyed by, he's like, I'm not talking about Conor. He's not even healthy. Why are we talking about booking? But yes, when he withdrew, it made me think he was angling for Sphere, because again, we talked about it.
That would make sense.
He's an iconic athlete. Yep. This is an iconic event. It's a one-off.
Yep, that would make sense why Riyadh Season wants to invest. When they pick the cards that go over to the UFC, it's after they make huge injections of money to the UFC, and they pick the card. I guarantee when Dana starts dangling out in front of them, can you invest in this thing? And they're like, well, what can you give us? It's not going to be Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko.
No disrespect.
No disrespect. They're
right.
like, it's not that.
Or Alexa and Manon Fiorot.
They're like, hey, this Conor said he wanted to fight. I'm like, can we do something? They're like, Conor, break your fucking toe, would you? Or just send me a picture of a broken toe.
Okay, now see.
It wasn't even his toe. It wasn't even his toe.
Have we actually inspected the picture close enough to make sure it was his foot?
I mean, I bet Conor manicures his toes a little better than those toes I saw. I'm just saying, the man's got millions and millions, And that grass didn't look like Dublin grass. That looked like that could have been South Kentucky, All
right, look.
Now it's got to be Conor
I do not believe that the UFC is like, rubbing their hands together and hey, what if we have Conor withdraw and Hunter, what can you get together for me?
We just have to wait till the next Roku one when it all comes out. They're on the yacht, and Dana's like, when he's playing poker, he's got his pinky up to his lip. He's like, I have a plan.
Puts his monocle on.
Bro, it's got it.
But
all
so I don't
the pieces
think
are aligning.
That's what I think. If it does happen that way, I do not believe they purposely were like, bro, withdraw from International Fight Week because we're going to put you on Sphere. But I do believe that they're like, hold up.
Yeah.
All right, he can't do this. But you know what that means? He can do Sphere.
If it's pure coincidence, it is the best thing that the universe and the life has delivered to the UFC, because it's literally putting on their plate and on their lap the best of all possibilities. 100%. There is no better fighter to fight at the Sphere, the headline, than Conor.
And if he had gone out and lost this weekend, is he fighting at the Sphere?
No, but they still would have liked him to.
Well, I know they still would have liked him to, but he wouldn't have, right?
100%.
I mean,
it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I doubt they're maybe they didn't call Conor and tell him to say, hey, send me a foot of somebody.
Can you text this picture of
your foot?
No. Hey, bro, we just sent you this picture of a foot with a broken toe. Yeah. Do you mind putting this out on your social media account, pretending it's yours?
What we're just learning now is that Hunter is like a grandmaster chess master, and he's been playing these pieces he's 4 steps ahead.
He's like, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get 2 weeks out from International Fight Week. That's when we make the announcement.
That's when we make. But that presser that you wanted, Dana, sit down. Let me tell you a story.
Here's
what we should do instead. Here's what we should do.
It's going to save us money. We don't even have to do the presser. We just say we're doing a presser. This is a brilliant. That's where we plant the seed. That's where we.
It's got to. Now, if it isn't, I'm going to be let down. But it has to be. Has to be. I mean, if there's prop bets on who the headliner is, it makes so much more sense.
The timing just lines up perfect, and again, with all the parties involved, with everything that's going to be, it makes sense. So we shall see.
So if anybody's got the Turk Al-Rashid, the guy, if you got him on cell phone, call him up. I bet he'll tell you. He'll bet he'll tell you.
He'll let you know.
He'll be like, yes.
He'll do it while he shadow boxes.
Yeah. Is he a shadow boxer?
You didn't see it on the broadcast?
No.
Oh, it was terrible shadow boxing. Oh, it was so bad.
Was it in the seat, or did they have an actual
No, he was
piece?
in the seat, and he was like, and
That's awesome.
You had to see it. I don't want to recreate it. It looks like I'm making fun of him. It was terrible shadow boxing though. All right, so and it was Alexa too. She was like, our flags kind of look the same. That's great. That was pretty funny. All right, so that's as far as anything else about the Sphere. I mean, all we really know, which we said from the beginning, we know the press room is going to be outside because there is
that we did find out because we
did get confirmation speculated.
We speculated that there was probably going to be a tent outside, but when you look at the space around it, it's like, where would a tent fit? So it's going to be interesting to figure out where they're even going to put a tent. On the grounds that it's quick enough for you to transport a fighter from venue out to the tent and then back in. But I was thinking about that too. They talked about, so we know, all right, so there's going to be a tent. That's what they're working on. They're doing a tour.
They don't know where the media is yet.
That's it. And I was thinking about this. What do you think about this? I know they were talking about let's try to find a way to rotate people in and out so they could see the venue or whatever. What if there is no media on the ground floor? All media is outside the tent. Would people still go to the event if you are said media that normally gets to the ground? If they say we can't possibly put a media row on the ground, because really, when you think it at the end of the day, what does media need to be out there for?
Right.
They don't.
To answer your question, I would absolutely attend. But if anybody says no, they need to be looking at themselves in the mirror and asking why they're attending in the first place.
Why they're attending the event.
Yeah, 100%.
Because honestly, they're writers, they're beat writers, whatever. You can write just as quick outside. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to if they can't formulate how to fit the media row in there, I think they're going to scrap it. Because if not, if they say they don't put them on the ground, what, you're going to try to put them in a suite? They're going to want to sell the suites.
Oh, yeah.
You can't put them in the seats. They want to sell the seats. And outside of that, it's just in the normal venue walkway. Now, we've never seen behind the screen how much actual space is behind there. We've seen some arenas where, we're in the bowels of the arena and it's like concrete floor. There's concrete pillars holding up the seating structure. They'll throw up some pipe and drape. And hey, guys, here's your press
we're
room.
basically just in like a cavern
Something
underneath
like
the chairs.
that
But
might
we don't know
exist.
if that exists. We don't know.
But we've never seen the
been
background.
Backstage. We've only been there as
I assume
as
there's
patrons,
some sort
basically.
of space, back there, because they do load in sets, they do load in lights, they do load in things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But since the building is built as a sphere,
you don't know.
There's only limited space.
If people don't know,
size.
there's a sphere within the sphere.
Yeah, there's an exoskeleton,
right,
if you will, on the outside.
That's where all the lighting is.
There's more shit on the inside.
And then there's a smaller building, and there's actually a gap between the two that you can see. Like when the sun's shining, you can see it. There's actually space. So if
you did the geometry, you could figure how much space is on the outside from the inside shell to the outside shell. There's limited, but there is a space that wraps around it. I just don't know what those dimensions are.
It's interesting, even
space.
for locker rooms and stuff like that. Yep. Is it a situation
that right there? That might be part of the space that they have on the inside too, because they're not going to bring the guys. We have seen events in the past where they did have outside trailers.
Yeah.
I've even seen there was a point where they had the hotel, and then they shuttled them to the trailers, and then the trailers inside the building. So they had much more buses going back and forth.
Be almost like during COVID times. Remember where only two athletes could be in the apex, or I think they had
something
two
like
in the back and two that were fighting, or whatever. You know what I mean? And they would just be like, maybe it's like that. Like there's so little space that the warm up room will be at the apex. It's about it from the apex to theirs. I mean, it's a Saturday. So
even if they try to fast track them from the Venetian or whatever inside, it's not a quick walk.
That's true. You could do ballrooms in the Venetian, but it'd still be a walk.
It's still a walk.
Would they do like a little golf cart in the Venetian?
I thought maybe they would do media rooms, if anything, but that's still a heavy hike afterwards. But if it's post-fight fighters coming, their night's done. It's not as big of a deal. But in terms of media, trying to go from one space to the other is going to be very, very, very time consuming. It's very, very tough.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. But I was thinking about it. It just popped in my head last night. I was like, what if they don't even have media on the floor, because of the space?
I think I know they were still trying to figure that out, right? I mean, it is weird. Where is the best place to? This is even for the ticket buying public. Where is the best place to buy a ticket? It's hard to say, right? Because I've got a buddy that works at CFFC that's in our production team, and he's actually been to Sphere for every single band that's played there. He's super into concerts and music and production, and he loves Sphere. And he's like, it's like there's two simultaneous shows going on, right? Because you have the live band playing, and then you have all the visuals.
Show.
It's it's a different experience depending where you sit in the venue. So
how much of the screen you could see.
If somebody, because every now and then I'll have a fan reach out to me and be like, hey, I'm going to this event. Where would you recommend I buy tickets? Where do you think is the best place to sit? And for a normal event, the best seats you can get are normally just a few rows off the floor, right?
The lower bowl.
Lower bowl, few rows off the floor. You get the best view of the stage. That's it. If you want to be by the fighter walks, that's something to consider, et cetera, et cetera. Here, I would have no idea where to tell you to buy a ticket. It might be better to not – we don't even know if there's going to be seats on the floor to buy, to your point, but it might be better to be, 200, 300 level up a little bit.
The second level up.
Yeah, so you're seeing the whole lower bowl. So you're seeing the whole thing.
Because it's going to be interesting because they still – everything that we've seen in the stage for the concert's always up against the back of the wall.
Right.
There's no guarantee it's going to be like that. The octagon, you would think the octagon's going to be much more forward to where they can actually have something on the backside of it, whether that be a media row or that's the walkway where they're going to, do that sort of thing. I don't envision the octagon being in the same spot unless for some reason it doesn't make sense for do the walk-in, because whenever I've seen a show there where the artists have come, they come immediately from a door that opens up in the back of the screen.
Right.
Typically, you see, you walk in one door, you walk out another door.
Right.
Are you going to just have them rap and then they come in and out of the thing? And I mean, and usually you're walking through fans, you're walking through crowds. So if you want to have that, you're going to have to move the octagon closer to the actual seat structure, develop seats back there that sort of form some sort of a pattern or a path that they could walk through. And then at that point, if you're the lowest bowl, it's still sort of elevated, because we've joked about how if somebody looks like if they fell, you just roll down all the seats. So maybe even on the lower portion, you would have a decent view of that. But I think that second tier level is probably the sweet spot, because you still get to see a lot of the
you want to see
the
screen
visuals, because when you're too low, you have to. It's one thing if you're on the ground, you can stand up and sort of look all the way around. But if you're in the 100 at the very bottom and you look straight up, you have to kind of turn in your seat to see the back of the screen,
right?
Because it's so big. Whereas maybe that second level, but it's going to be interesting. That's the only thing I want to see is just I just want to walk out there and see the layout of it. Granted, it'll be on the screen, and I'm sure from the 10 it'll look fantastic. But it's just funny because now I joke because I'm like, we're going to be at an event at the Sphere, and I doubt I'm going to be at the Sphere. I'm going to be out in Sphere parking lot somewhere, or in a Venetian tent in the Venetian parking lot or something.
They got you over at the Win.
Yeah, we're going to be at the Win. At that same clubhouse ordering spicy margaritas, hopefully.
I would do that.
No.
All right, UFC 303.
Like, Kenny, you forgot to process any video tonight. Really?
Card corrupted.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I like that. I'm booked that. All my cards corrupted.
That's crazy, man. I don't know what happened. I tried to order them. All right, UFC 303 Media Day. Alex Pereira and Yuri Prochazka, of course, the late notice main event that we're getting, the rematch. Two guys that are amazing fighters, don't talk a whole lot, right? They're not the most chatty. I mean,
Bushido code says you can't talk too quickly. Once you are asked a question. You must pause.
You must pause.
You must think.
You must think.
Reflect.
And
then answer.
All right, so my biggest question. So none of them gave us like huge lines. They're not trash talking. It's going to be a hell of a fight. I'm excited for it.
Spirits are going to be involved.
That's okay.
Spirits, magic.
Is Yuri
Don't dare you ask me to take that out of it.
Is Yuri being silly?
It could be tongue-in-cheek fun. Like off to the side, he's like, bruh, you know I'm just being ridiculous.
Right.
Like when I say, please don't bring your
your
shaman, your wizards, and your magic and your beliefs.
And it was so fun because he's like, we all see it.
Yeah,
we all know what he's doing, and it was just like, what? Like we do? Like, do you see like some aura around him, or like what?
I see the glow.
Yeah. Is he? But I cannot tell for the life of me. Like normally, I feel like I have a pretty good read on people.
Yeah.
But because Yuri's so like mysterious and different, like. I don't know if he's joking
words,
or
if make your own meaning.
Yes, I don't know if he's joking or if he's like dead serious. That like I'm really asking you, honor, man to man. Like, bro, we are both warriors. Please do not bring your gods into the cage with you. Let us fight fair. Like, is he serious?
I would think he's not, but I mean, like, I don't know. I still feel like it's almost like a tongue in cheek. Like he's like. Just play along with me. I'm having fun or whatever. Because for him, it's like he says something and he laughs like 2 hours later. He's like, you got that, right? Ha, ha, ha,
That's what I think like he's joking, right?
I think so. I mean, like, it is what it is. I mean, he just, and even Alex, when he was asking about it, he was like, like, whatever.
I know.
Like,
yeah, and that's
like,
the thing.
I'm going to bring my spirits. You bring your spirits. If you got your spirits and beliefs, he put it more like his faith. Like, maybe it was the way it was translated.
Yeah.
He made it seem like, like if you're asking me to step in there without my faith, like my faith, I wear my faith. My faith is me. You have your faith. You have your beliefs. I'm going to wear them in. So I'm like, okay, somewhere in the translations of the jokes and the things, like we have two different things going on.
Yeah.
But do I think that, Yuri really thinks that, there's, people off to the side burning sage and like inject, like bringing all these spirits and they're literally dancing outside the cage. They're going to be shaking the fence. I don't think he really
What's holding on to my ankle right now? Like,
I tried to get out of my stool, but I feel the pressure holding me back. No, and it could just be his dry. He has such a dry delivery,
exactly,
that it's hard, I think, to guess when he's like being tongue in cheek funny.
Yeah.
But I bet if we were around him a lot more and say we're like his close buddies, they're probably off in the back laughing their ass off, like, oh, he's back at it. He's been teasing about this all day long. Oh, that Yuri, he's quite a funny guy. I mean, look at his hairpiece. Look at the top knob.
Do you think they're like, Yuri, that was hilarious?
Bushido causes a kid laugh, but internally, I am roaring.
All right, so that's interesting. It's funny because, like, I don't know, like, so we're gonna have the press conference later today, and like Yuri did ask, he's like, I hope that he will.
Shit.
And so, like, I like part of me, because I'll start out with the main event like I always do, and like part of me thinks I should ask something about it, but again, like, it just feels kind of weird to me. Like, I don't know. If
because I feel like it hasn't been translated already enough. I feel like the same mistranslation is gonna go.
Lost,
I would let somebody else die on that hill.
I'm not,
because somebody's gonna probably ask, and it's just gonna flop miserably.
I tend to agree with you on that one. All right, so what do you think about the fight itself? Because
I think it's a great fight.
I think it's a great fight. I want to know what your pick is, because here's what's interesting is you go back and watch the first fight, and Yuri has success early in that fight, right?
Yep.
And I believe that if Yuri, first of all, I do think he should grapple more.
Yep.
I did think Ian Gary had a great breakdown of the fight yesterday, right? He said, I think I'd like to see Yuri kicking more. I'd like to see him kick more to the body and kick more to the arms, just to keep those arms busy and to keep him compact instead of throwing that big left hook. And I thought that was actually pretty solid insight as well.
Yeah.
And I
there's
think
nothing like starting a kickboxing fight with a kickboxer.
Well, that's the hard part about it. That's the deadly part. It's like, you got to be kicking nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, don't let him throw a punch at all. So that, and I guess maybe that kind of tips my hand, but I think Yuri had success, and I think he can have success. Yuri interestingly did say, I don't think I need to change anything. And I can understand why he would say that. He can feel like, hey, I just got caught. But, man, I just feel like that's the danger with the Lex, right? It's just like you're winning the fight until you lose it.
Until you're not. That power just holds on. I mean, as much as we've seen him hurt, he just pulls out that power. It just maintains. And we don't ever see.
Gets hit a lot.
Yeah, and we don't ever see Alex, like, blow his load. Like, we're not like, oh, he's fatigued, he's not able to throw. We never get to see that part.
Right, because he's very
reserved. Yep. He keeps it. Well,
it's not like Dominic Cruz out there just dancing around the place. And boy, he can't do this for 25 minutes. Man, he's going to tire out. I mean, Dom can. Dom's not 205. You know what I mean?
I went Alex. I think Alex. When I look at this fight, wasn't that long ago, and I was almost going to say, like, I feel like it's a different Alex that's fighting now. That wasn't that long ago, but the Alex we saw when he first came into the UFC to now, the confidence, the way he's able to use it, he understands. It's not like he didn't understand the fighting before, but he's just fighting a perfect fight for his style, and he matches it so well to whoever is in there with him right now. I think he learned a lot from that Izzy fight, especially the one that he lost. That I don't know if he just thought he was invincible going in there, and then I think he really learned, like, okay, these guys are all top level guys. They're all dangerous. I have to be sure of myself. I have to, keep my guard up. It's going to be a long battle. Nobody's going to get taken out of there right from the get-go. I have to reserve my strength. And I just feel like he's fighting so good. His mindset is just bulletproof right now. Maybe it's the spirits that live in his head and around him that boost him up. But
clearly, the only explanation for it.
Yeah, but no, I picked Alex. I mean, and that's no slight to Yuri, because I think Yuri's a fantastic fighter, and
he's dangerous.
He has every possibility to go in there and fucking knocking him out. But it's just, I just feel like it's Alex's time right now. The guy is just, he's on top of the world. And no slight to Yuri. I mean, I think Yuri, he was a champ. I think he has the potential to become a future champ again. I just don't think right now.
Yeah.
I just don't think this one. Not this fight.
I tend to lean towards the same explanation, the same result. But as you said, it's going to be fun. These are two great fighters, two great athletes. It's not about trash talk. It's about dangerous, intense dudes.
And I want to fight, right? We don't want to, like, do you want a quick knockout? I want to see them test each other.
Yeah,
I want to see it go to the fifth round, and we're like, oh man, it's 2-2, like 2-2.
Yeah.
Let's, like, who's gonna bring it in the fifth?
Staggered.
Because then we could really see the heart. Then we could really see who really did the work, and because that's a question right there. Like, is Yuri really ready? Was he really ready for this? Was Alex really ready for a guy like Yuri at this point? This card has changed so much. Opponents have changed so much. It's just crazy thinking we were thinking like this was going to be, like, we'd see Jamal, Hill in there and see all these other cats, you see things sort of switch around. I I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a badass fight. And even we were talking to more people yesterday about whether this card was better than before, and that was a resounding yes from most people in the room.
It's an argument that, again, when you make it, so people are just going to be like, what? It's not the same not having Conor. It's just not. You saw the media day set up yesterday. There were a lot of empty seats in that media day, right? And we know, I know Simon Head was supposed to be here, right? But the outlet that he was working for canceled when Conor was out. I know Sandu was supposed to be working for an outlet that canceled once Conor was. I mean, we know personally people that were coming that had to cancel because their outlet was like, well, if Conor's not there, we don't need you there. We don't want you there. So it does change it. But I do agree, man. The card is amazing, and it came together well. It's
a good card. It's a fun card.
I agree. By the way, I did want to say, Yuri, again, this is Yuri's dry delivery. When he was asked about Magomed Ankalaev, he's like, who did he beat last? He's like, Johnny Walker. How many wins does he have in a row? Well, he had the no contest in the draw, so 1. You know, again, Yuri's an interesting cat, man. He's that was his trash talk. I'm just like, I'm sorry, who did he beat again? How long's his win streak?
Yeah, because when the way he pauses, you're not sure if he's because it's the same delivery.
Was he really not sure, or did he know and he just made you just talk trash? He's letting you listen to what you just said.
Because it's the same pause, and you're like, that's why I think he's joking sometimes.
I do too.
When we think that he's just being reflective and quiet, he's like, my joke, you're going to get it eventually. You're going to get it. Are you there yet? Are you there?
There was a comedian that I can't remember who it was. He said it was like a joke grenade. Like, you got to throw it and let it sit for a second. And like, oh, I got it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got it. Yeah, it takes a few seconds and then you get it.
I don't think I've heard that.
Yeah,
I like that.
It was solid. So, all right, look forward to it. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. Obviously, this was the addition of the card that everybody thinks could be a spectacular fight. Should be a spectacular fight. Brian Ortega was great yesterday. Well, first of all, Brian Ortega is talking about dry deliveries. That somebody asked him about that Purge walkout that he did with the masks and all that, and he started talking about how he wanted to kill his neighbor and like he was thinking about like his noisy upstairs neighbor.
That's crazy.
And that was weird because like I was expecting him to laugh more, and he wasn't. I feel like he was going back to that moment and thinking like, if I saw those dudes right now, I would kill them.
He led us into that premeditated murder thought.
Yes.
Like
if anything ever happens, he's definitely getting first-degree charges, right? Like
that was legit anger that he sat on. It's like, well, did you guys ever did you ever get that resolved? He's like, no, I moved. He's like in the back of his mind. He's like, it's on site. If I see those neighbors, if I see it's on site.
So funny. So that was funny to me.
But yeah, I have a story, but I have no comment. But let me tell you more about it. That was the funny part.
No comment, and then he gave every detail.
Then he goes the whole details.
All right. So I will say this. I'm excited for this fight. It should be an amazing fight. Brian Ortega, I'm happy to see him getting a quick turnaround. You know, he's had all these layoffs. He's such a talented fighter, but he's had so many injuries and bad luck and all this.
It's a tough one.
It scared me a little bit yesterday when he was just like, I'm as ready as I'm going to be on 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't really planning to fight. I'm as ready as I can be. You know what I mean? It's just whereas Diego's like, oh, I'm coming to do this, and I'm staking my. It just scared me a little. But again, a fight's a fight, and you know what is said at a pre-fight interview doesn't necessarily. But I don't know. It just that mental state. Where is it? And for Brian, it scared me a little bit just because he was just like, I'm here, and I know I'm not getting a title fight after this regardless, and so I don't even really know what I'm fighting for. To be honest, people ask me what the stakes are for, and to be honest, I don't know. I'm just gonna go in and fight, and you know whatever happens, happens. I don't know. I didn't love that, and I like Brian Ortega a lot.
Yeah.
But it made me think like, did he just take this because like he needed some money, or he saw the like you know. Hunter Campbell came and hey, let me give that little extra bag of cash, and he's like, tough to turn that down. Yep, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Yep. It scared me a little bit.
Yeah, and Diego's not a guy you want to go in there all willy-nilly because he's a badass, man. Brian is amazing. It's funny because I think I counted out Brian in that fight against Yair, and then we saw like Brian just beat Brian, and it was just like, why do we doubt this dude? I mean, he has 100%. We see these losses and we're thinking like, okay, maybe it's not the same Brian. Maybe he's not going to be back up there at the top. Maybe he's not going to contend for for a title. And then he pulls off these fantastic fights against legit title contenders, and it's like, okay, he's there. This is another one of those ones where Diego is a guy that I think a lot of us are looking at and say this guy has the potential of being a future champ. And now he's running into a guy like Ortega that, you know, typically in the past, I probably would have leaned on Ortega, but now I think I'm just riding high on where Lopez is. And then you see Ortega maybe kind of like, if he's not, I don't want to say that he's not taking it seriously, but if you don't have the same effort, like I'm trying to beat this Diego guy to reclaim the fact that I'm at the top of the division.
Yep.
I should be vying for a belt. When you're just like, bro, I'm as good as I can be for 2 weeks. Maybe that's just the stoner mentality now that he's got or something. He's just like, bro, I'm not going to sweat it. Yeah. I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to do me.
It might be a way not to put pressure on yourself, right? You know what I mean?
Maybe he's fighting freer because of it. He's like, you guys want to put shit on my shoulders. He's like, it's just a fight.
Hey man, I'm here. I'm taking the fight. It's my job. I'm showing up. I'm good to go. So it might be a positive. It was interesting.
Where are you leaning?
I'd still lean Ortega.
Are you?
Yeah, I do. I think he's that guy, and I think Diego.
Maybe I'm jumping on the
hype train. Is going to be that guy. Yeah, I think Diego's going to be that guy.
Yeah.
And there's a huge upside, but I still lean T-City right now. But that gave me pause yesterday.
If it was Noche card and this was on it, who would you pick? Who would get the superpower from the Noche card?
Well, Diego's he was born in Mexico,
right?
So
right?
T-City was born here, right? So
So you would pick Diego if it was on Noche card?
That's it, yeah, because clearly the shaman and the spiritual powers would be in his side at that point. And we all know that that's really what affects the big fights is who's got the shaman spirit. Anthony Smith was great. Roman Dolidze, I loved low key. He was talking about, I can't remember. I was talking about fighting a friend. I can't remember how it got brought up, but he was just like about fighting a training partner or whatever, and he's like, this is our job. This is what we do. He's like, maybe if you want to take these high morals, like don't punch people in the face for a living. I thought that was hilarious, bro. Low-key savage.
And I think I told you about this when I was doing my, it's already whatever. When I was doing like behind the scenes pilot shoot at Extreme, they had to have a sit down with Dolidze because he was going too hard, like busting on a dude that had to fight in a few days. And they're like, bro, if you don't, like, we're all trying to fight towards something, we're all doing whatever, but, this guy's getting ready to fight for a thing, like, fucking pull it back. It was either pull it back or, like, switch to a different, the evening class. So they literally had to sit down. So, like, when you hear him talking about training, like, fighting against training partners, this is the guy that in training they had to say, bro,
stop
pull it back.
Pull back. He's like, I fight my training partners for free.
Yeah.
What am I
like,
we're
training here. We're all trying to work towards something. So, like, I don't think Dolidze has any doubt in his mind. Like, if he has to fight like a friend or fight whatever, that dude's going to do it.
I love it. I thought it was low-key savage. By the way, Mayra Bueno Silva had that same energy, too, where she was like, they were asking about Kayla Harrison. She's like, Kayla Harrison is a monster. She's like, she's a savage. Like, she's a beast. But I'll fight her.
Yeah.
We fight every day. If we can get paid for it, why not get paid for it? I love that attitude.
Yeah, MBS, man, she is a dog. She don't fucking care. She don't like anybody. So it's nice when to hear her give respect to somebody because she's always like, why would you want to see that person's fight rather than me? Why would you do this person? Like, I'll walk through everybody, And
I'm not, there used to be that thing where, Dana had the thing with AKA years ago where it was like, no, look, I do believe there are exceptions. You know what I mean? Like Gilbert Burns, Vicente Luque, like they're like, I think they're like godfathers of each other's children and like their families spend, there are exceptions where you're like, that's the one dude that's my boy that I have zero interest in fight. I can't go punch them in the face.
Yeah.
But especially when you're at a big gym like ATT or the way Extreme Couture is getting now, so you can't be like, oh, well, we sparred twice a year ago, and so I never want to fight him. You know what I mean? Like, no, dude.
When there's 30 pros on the pro team, like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, if you're like, that's who I spend every waking minute with when I'm not in the gym because we're boys and we hang out and our families have dinner together, we're not fighting. Wholeheartedly. But I love it when people are like, we fight in the gym every day. I'll fight for money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Beautiful. All right, Ian Machado Gary, MVP. I think I'm one of the few people. I like Ian Gary. I think a lot of people don't like him. I like him. I like his confidence. I like how well spoken he is. I like the swagger. I don't know. I enjoy him. But at the same token, I love MVP as well, man. And it's so cool to see MVP getting the UFC spotlight now, right? Because it is. I mean, you and I especially, and I think anybody that's a hardcore in the sport knows that simply because you're in the UFC doesn't make you a better fighter than people elsewhere, and simply because fighters are elsewhere does not mean that they're not good. You know what I mean? So MVP is a good fighter, always was a good fighter. But as he even said, like, man, once you get – the UFC is a machine.
Yeah.
And once you see the machine –
that's what I thought was always cool because he said that, I think, his last fight, too, when people ask him about the transition, he's like, he gave a lot of respect to everybody behind the scenes. So I thought it was really cool that one of the very first things that came out of his mouth, granted, was what the question was,
right?
But still, he brought up and was praising like the staff,
I mean, the operations people.
You know, I thought that was really, really cool because those are the unsung heroes that kind of make this thing.
Such a good point. They
happen,
bust their ass to make things like perfect behind the scenes.
Yeah, and you never hear about them. So it was really cool for them to sort of say that thing. Well, that brings a point because there was a point where I felt like it sort of got lost. Like when MVP first said like, hey, if we're having this fight in another organization, this is how I took it.
Okay, yeah.
When he said like, if I was fighting in another organization, this fight happened, they would say I'm fighting a can.
Right.
I took that to mean that it wasn't so much that it was Gary, but the fact that it was a fight taking place in another promotion.
I
as opposed to
agree.
When Gary got up there and everybody was like, oh, he says if he was fighting another, he'd be fighting a can. And I was like, I don't think he was calling Gary the can. It was the fact that fighting outside of the UFC as opposed to fighting in the UFC.
100%.
That's how I took that.
Here's this young kid that hasn't actually fought anybody yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just some can that they're giving to MVP to beat up. So that's exactly what I thought. I thought it was more, criticism of the way people look at fights outside of the UFC. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Not criticizing Gary in direct.
And that's good because I thought I was like, did I read that completely wrong? Because when we got into the Gary thing and everybody's bringing it up, and then, well, one, I was surprised how sort of like MVP was really he was like going at Ian, definitely saying like he didn't think his skill set or whatever, and just wasn't warranted how much of a belief that Gary has in himself or yada yada yada. I was surprised because MVP, for the most part, I mean, he used to talk some shit, do whatever, but he's always been sort of respectful and quiet. So I thought it was interesting that he was kind of going in on him a little bit. And I was like, wow, okay. He's fake. He's the fake Conor McGregor. I was like, wow, where is this coming from? And then on the flip side, we heard it from Gary. I'm not one. I think Gary's fine. I mean, I think he's a great fighter. I don't mind the shit talk. I mean, he's very boisterous. The only part I get, it's the same I get from anybody that's loves to talk about himself. After a while, I'm just like, I just stop tuning out. I just start tuning out. So it's no reflection on him personally. It's like anybody that's just like, please, guys, listen to me talk about how great I am. Like after like 5 minutes of it, I'm like, all right, bro, I get it. Then once you keep going, I'm just like, oh, please, somebody knock him out. That's not him personally. I'll say that about anybody. But yeah, I mean, I think both of these, you have two stars in the sport. One's been around longer. I was surprised, because you see MVP, he's just making the transition to the UFC, but the dude's 38.
Yeah.
He's fighting a guy that's like 10, 11, 12 years younger than him. I start to weigh that into the fact of like, here's a guy that looks, some could say, this was what MVP was when MVP was younger. You ask Gary, he's like, he's never been as good as I am right now. So, you can't say that I'm the earlier version of MP. So it's not like the old dog fighting the young dog or whatever, because the young dog says, I'm better now than you ever were, in your prime or whatever. So it's interesting to see because I think MVP still is dangerous and he has the skill set to say, all right, Ian, I appreciate what you think you are. Let me sit you down for a little bit, and that possibly could happen. But man, Ian, the way that he's been fighting recently in that last fight that he had, he really, not that he just changed my mind, but I'm more of a believer that the kid's the real thing.
Right.
So going into this one, it's going to be hard for anybody.
Stiffer competition.
And getting tested a lot more, like getting pushed. And it's like, okay, I can't doubt the kid anymore. Like he's shown it and he's done it against top level guys. This is going to be another one where I can see where some people are like, well, you just fought the guy that just came over from other organizations. Is he really that good?
100%.
It's going to be silly because then they're going to blame that.
If he wins, they're going to be like, MVP wasn't that great. Like
MVP's a great fighter. If Gary gets a win over him, for anybody to try to shit on Ian and say like he hasn't fought top level dudes after beating MVP you're just proving your ignorance. Then you're just proving that you're a hater. You're just hating on what the kid, good looking kid. He's got a hot wife. He's got his family going on. His career's fucking banging. You're just hating at that point.
Yep. If
you can't find the respect to give him his due after a win on this one, you're just a fucking hater.
100%.
You have it'd just be silly. It'd just be silly.
I love this main card, man. I think it's going to be exciting. It'll be Saturday night. Got some great prelims as well. Speaking of, I did get a chance earlier this week to catch up with Joe Pyfer, obviously a CFFC vet. I've called some fights with him as well, so I wanted to get his take after suffering his first defeat in the UFC and looking to rebound from that and to find out where kind of his temperature was at. So here was my conversation with Joe Pyfer.
All right, well, Joe Pyfer, fight number 5 in the UFC, and it's International Fight Week, right? I mean, one of the biggest cards of the year. So what's the excitement level like for you going into this one?
Not what I anticipated. I was excited for the Conor, just for the history of being on a card. I don't think he has that many fights left, so it's cool to say that I was on a card like that. Unfortunately, it fell through. Still a good fight. I like Jiri, and I like Alex. It's a good main event, but excitement's not as much.
Took a little bit of the shine. Anytime Connor's around, I get it. At one point, I'd seen a graphic, too, that you were on the main card, right? And then they shuffled things around. Now you're the featured prelim, but it's ESPN. It's a nice spot. So, I don't know, did that matter to you? Did that care?
Nah, it didn't bother me. So it mattered to me when Conor was on the card. I figured it made sense, open for the pay-per-view. Obviously, everybody's going to want to watch Conor fight. Everybody would buy it. I don't think as many people are into the Pereira rematch as much as they would be, obviously, Conor. So I'm the free best fight on the prelim. So that's how I see it. More eyeballs, good spot. I know it's not a bad spot. They didn't do it to spite or anything like that. So I'm going to make the most of it.
No, I completely agree. I know Uriah Faber used to be a big proponent of being in that spot, right? Get the most eyeballs on it. So last time, most eyeballs, you're in the main event, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, things didn't go the way you wanted them to go. But I guess talk to me, like, the biggest lessons you took out of that, right? Because the performance was good to start, and then obviously, just what happened, I guess, and what lessons did you take?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things, right? I mean, I struggled with being super sick to camp and really having to ramp it up at the end. And I don't think that's what lost me the fight. I think I was showing that I was above him early. And but it was my first time learning the pace for 5 minutes, having a shorter camp due to an illness. And, I still wanted to fight. I still believed I could knock him out, and I didn't care what the circumstances were. I truly did believe that. I still believe that. I know how good I am, and I know how I performed, and I'm proud of it. At the end of the day, I went 5 rounds on my 4th fight in the UFC against a guy who's had 17 UFC fights, something like that. And I proved that I can hang with the best, and with a little bit more time to get my feet wet, I can beat the best. So, all respect to Jack. And it was a great learning experience, so I hope to show that this Saturday.
I love it. Well, that's what I was going to say, certainly a guy that's been through some adversity before, right? Like, one setback is not going to ruin the path.
I didn't get knocked out. I didn't get dropped. I didn't get submitted. So I lost the decision, and I lost by 1 round. So I got hit in my eyeball in the 3rd round, and I think that really put me – I couldn't see him. And then he really started investing in that calf kick, and then I stopped throwing my combinations. I started one big shot. And then the 5th round, I felt like I was going to start being able to get it back. I was fired up, and then he took me down. So, it was a good learning experience.
I was going to say, it's a learning experience. So what's the approach? Were there active changes that you were like, we got to fix this? I mean, you talked about dealing with illness and all those things. I mean, were there things that you changed in the build-up to this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think my diet, I've never eaten bad, but I wasn't eating correctly, the right things, the right time. And I'm ashamed to say it because I've been in the sport for so long, but you're not really guided on the nutrition part. You get tips and tricks from your teammates throughout the years, but I feel like my energy levels, even as low as I am in weight right now, are better than they've ever been. I still have a big cut ahead of me, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton, man, just mentally and not putting my business at stake like I did last time, right? Could I have been better prepared for that? 100%. And I was coming off a lot of stuff, but, I still don't think that that's what lost me the fight. I still think I could have won the fight, and as long as I think I could have won the fight, I can't take nothing from Jack, and I won't because I like Jack. But in another circumstance, running it back, I think it would be different.
I was going to say, is that one you got to get back at some point down the road?
Nah, it's one if Jack's still around and, I can get back up in the ladder and he's open to doing it. I like Jack. I think there's tons of fights. I would love to get it back, don't get me wrong, but there's no ill will there. He's a class act, that's all I got to say. So I ain't got no ill will. He taught me a lesson, and he taught his son a lesson.
I saw you post this on your social media. I think it's such a great thing. One thing I control is effort, not the result, right? Like, that's a hard mindset to get to, right? Like, because you want to force the win. But I guess, is that a new mindset for you? And have you been able to adapt it fully? Because it's hard to kind of let go and be like, well, all I can do is just do my best and know that I did.
Well, it's a mix-up, right? Like, you hear me talk, sometimes I'm pissed off, and sometimes I'm cool, right? So we'll see how I feel tomorrow. I might be irritated about something. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, my coaches have done a good job, and my team has done a good job at centering me again with just, listen, we show up, we're present, you learn. Again, I didn't get knocked out. I didn't get made look a fool or anything like that. As far as MMA fans, we know how they go. They're very brutal. It is what it is. I'm the one that's fighting. I'm the one that's got to sleep with myself. So yeah, I mean, I've changed my sleeping habits, which I've always had a couple years of struggling with. My nutrition's better than it's been. My mental health is better than it's been. And I want to be here. So I can't say I didn't want to be here last time. I want to be here. I love fighting, but sometimes it's hard, man. Like when you got, I can't even say it was pressure because like I shine in the spotlight. Despite the Joe Rogan stuff, all the media, my first time around with all that, I still went out there and I performed, and I didn't show that I was scared of a guy or whatever. I was taking it to him. So I think I'm just young, man. I'm young, and I'm 15 fights in my career.
Well, we saw. I mean, we asked you about it, right? Like, and you probably didn't even recognize it at the time, right? But there was so much attention and pressure, and this is the guy.
Yeah.
That's hard, right? I mean, did you recognize it at the time or only afterwards?
No, I recognized it, but I was willing to step up to the plate. I'm not afraid of that, and I think it's just, again, from the people that are around me, it's like, hey, dare to be great. I got one life to live. Why wouldn't I take that shot? Because you had a little sickness. I will say it was the most sick I've ever been in my life, and I had no idea what it was. But I was sick from December 22nd until the Joe Rogan podcast about January 17th. So, and that was half my camp.
What was it?
I have no idea.
Still
I kept coughing up like mucus and phlegm and like blood, and it was the strangest shit that I've ever had in my life. So I'm just glad that I'm healthy now, and I got the experience. I wouldn't want to change it. That's basically my point. Is we all have reasons, excuses, whatever, but I wouldn't want to change anything. I think what me sharing that cage with him and going 5 rounds, knowing I can go 5 rounds, I've never done that. Knowing that I can hurt the best, compete with the best, beat the best, as long as I stay to a game plan. I think the difference between me and Jack in that fight was I was looking to finish him. He was looking to win. And I think that is the biggest lesson. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it hurts going home with 1 check.
Love it. That's true. All right, well, you've got a great matchup this weekend as well. I think on paper it looks like a lot of fun. What do you think about your opponent and how you guys come together?
I think he's a tough guy. I think he's been around too. He's been in the UFC. He's kind of like matured in the UFC. He's breached the top 15 trying to get in there and had a close fight with Chris Curtis. He's tough. He is tough. He tries to make it dirty. I don't think that he's overwhelmingly skillful or going to give me anything that I'm like shocked or surprised by. I think he's going to try and take the momentum. And try to push forward. I think that's his best chance, right? He's got to try to push forward. He's got to try to dictate the pace, and he's got to try to make it sloppy. And that's great for me. So a lot of openings. You know what I mean? A lot of openings. He's not a Jack Hermanson, which we've adjusted for. If that ever happens again. But Jack wasn't willing to like trade with me. Jack would hit, move, shoot, hit, move. So yeah, I mean, I like this fight is basically what I'm saying. I love this fight.
I love it. Stylistically, I think it should be fun. Do you feel like there's something to prove here? I would feel like, I don't say like a chip on your shoulder because you seem at peace right now, to be honest with you. But like, I see, hey, this is the comeback, and hey, that's not who I am. You know what I mean? Do you feel like I got to prove that I'm that guy that was getting all that attention beforehand?
No, because I was still me. I don't have a fake character. I'm still me. And all these people that talk shit, see, this is where I get mad. It's like all these people that were dick riding before I made it, or as I was, going up and making my shot. What did I do that was crazy? I didn't do anything. I was just me. I fought. I try to finish people. I'm here to be exciting. That's what I'm going to be. I'm still going to be exciting. One thing I'm not going to be is a fake and change who I am, because of a loss. Like, again, this is who I am. I'm a mean motherfucker when I'm in there, and I'm going to try and finish you, and that's what I'm here to do this weekend. I'm here to finish this dude. So, but I'm a little smarter, that's all. So, yeah, I'm still going to be me. I don't remember the question other than, like, do I have to try to be who I was? Nah, I'm me. I've never changed. Still me.
I love that. Obviously,
chip on the shoulder. Yes, I still have that rage in me, so I want to hurt this motherfucker.
I like that. All right. So we're focused on MMA. Do we get you back in Fury grappling sometime soon this fall? Are we going to do some more grappling in the future?
Yeah, 100%. My coach, Jonathan Webb, my jiu-jitsu coach, he's got my jiu-jitsu substantially better, especially since I've been on the team. So I haven't really gotten to showcase that in the UFC. So, but yeah. I definitely would love to grapple. I love the atmosphere. I love the guys. I love the team, and it's fun, man. It's fun. Why not compete? Why not test myself and have a good time and put on a show for my local fans?
CFFC is doing Muay Thai now. Would you have taken some of those on the way up and fought in some Muay Thai? How do you think you would have done there?
I think I would do well anywhere with anything combat related, but I'm not a Muay Thai guy. That's not. I'll tell you what. I wish I would have boxed. I think if I had boxed a little bit, maybe I would have done a straight boxing career, but I don't know. We'll see. The future is bright for me as long as I just keep being me.
That's it, man. The future is incredible. Last thing for you, I guess, what's the goal here, right? I mean, it sounds like you just want to go out there and be you and have fun. Like you said, all you can do is control the effort, not the result. So what are you hoping to get out of this Saturday?
Silence the noise, get in the cage, and just treat it how I treat sparring. You know, go in there and try to create damage and, get a spectacular finish, get a bonus, and then talk some shit afterwards. So I got a lot of things that I want to say. I haven't done any interviews. This is only I did one for the UFC, and then I'm doing yours. But I haven't done any interviews because I'm coming off a loss. So if people want to talk shit on me on this one, they can suck a dick. Like, I have nothing to say other until now because I'm on fight week, right? But I haven't done any interviews. I haven't talked no shit. You know, I got my ass humbled the last time, and I'm coming back, and I'm going to make a statement.
Well, no surprise. It didn't take much to get Joe Pyfer fired up. You know, he said, "I'm holding back. I'm not going to say what I got to say." But then he starts to say a little bit of it, and he showed a little bit more of that at media day as well. He gets fired up, and
he was going to fight Per about the hat,
about the bucket hat,
about the bucket hat. Who did it better?
He was like, "Well, mine's my sponsor."
Well, you know, Per woke up that morning. And he just said, "I'm going to beat Joe Pyfer today."
See what you did there. I see what you did there. That was a great picture, man. When he said, I saw it was funny. I was sitting behind you at media day, like I was doing. I just saw you holding the camera, and I could see what you were taking a picture of, and I laughed before you even sent the picture around in our group chat. I was just cracking up. That was funny.
This is good shit.
All right, listen, UFC 303 tonight. By the way, Hall of Fame induction worth mentioning, of course. If you get a chance to listen to this before the Hall of Fame, or maybe you want to watch it afterwards, you know what? It kind of leans into what Cub Swanson was saying, and I do agree. I think there is a lot of new fans of the sport that don't necessarily, and I get it. It's kind of hard to take time to go back and learn the history when there's new fights every week, so there's no time off to go get caught up. But I think it is good to learn the history of the sport and to know where it came from. But man, this Hall of Fame class: Vanderlei Silva, Frankie Edgar, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Shogun Rua. I mean, that is an incredible lineup of fighters right there, and of course the legendary Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen 1. Fight going into the fight wing as well. So a very cool Hall of Fame class. So we'll be there on the red carpet tonight talking to everybody as they make their way in. And I always enjoy watching the induction ceremonies, to be honest with you, man. I don't normally attend them in person just because we're usually working afterwards. I guess I kind of have that luxury now that I could maybe. But I always watch it on Fight Pass, man. I think the speeches and the emotions and seeing those legends get honored that one last time, you know, with that induction ceremony, man. It's
like watching Aldo's speech. How do you not get affected watching that speech? You know, like it's hard watching somebody that you respect so much, anybody, but just burying themselves and really going through all the emotions. And then it's like you have to be a piece of granite to not be moved by watching it. I think everybody got teary watching Jose.
Yeah. And he's such a respected.
He's such a respected dude. Everybody loves him. So yeah, I mean it's powerful seeing those moments. And I had some friends reach out and they're like, I think I want to go. They're like, I think I might even dress up. I was like, why not? I was like, it's hot. If you're sitting outside, you might not want to be dressed up. But I was like, dude, make it the most. I mean, if you ever want to be in a room with some of these people, but let alone sharing one of the most important nights that's going to live in their memories forever, it's unique. It's 100%. Cool, you know. And I think it's like what, $20, $25
$20, $25. It goes to charity. You know,
it's like 2 hours, I think. Yeah, maybe most.
I want to start taking my son to it, but he's still young enough that he doesn't have the longest attention span. So I don't want to bore him too much. He'd probably play video games, but probably won't take his phone. But, you know.
It happens. I'm sure there's other people playing on their phones out there.
Oh, man. All right, listen, before you get out of here, did just want to give a shout-out to the boys at Submission Radio, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was surprised to hear that Casper was moving along, and Dennis is going to stick with the show and keep it going.
Happy for that.
But happy for them, and definitely watch the episode where Casper explains, listen, man, with some health issues, with some time constraints, with some things, you know, there just isn't time, and I get it. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
I was having this conversation yesterday with Oscar Willis from the Mac Life about travel and stuff like that. Like, if I didn't have my kid, I like when we joke about like not being on the road and stuff like that. Like honestly, if I didn't have my kid, I would still go to everything. Like I have no problem getting on a plane. I have no problem being gone. It doesn't bother me. But being away from my son does. You know what I mean? Like I'll never get that time back. Like that.
And your wife.
Oh yeah. And my wife.
She listens to this.
Listen,
I'm just saving you. I'm just saving you that.
But this is what I've always said. Like when you're married, you get it. Like when you have a marriage, it's like you're cool with them. Like we're coming back together. You know what I mean? So like some time away. Like so you have your individual time. Yeah. You have your time together.
Your me time, then the we time.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're okay. But like your son, your kid, like they're growing up. You know what I mean? And then that time's gone. You'll never have it again. So I miss it. But Casper's in the point of all that where he's things developing along and trying to move his career along, and he's got other things going on. So anyway, completely, I've actually messaged him privately and told him, gave him some of my thoughts on it and everything. So don't need to go too far deep into that, but I guess just want to give it mention because man, I thought those I just loved hanging out with the guys. Like anytime 100%. We were in Australia, they're just fun dudes to kick it with.
Yep.
Generally good human beings, fun to hang out with. But also, I thought they did a hell of a job.
They did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And when you hear them talking about it, how it was something that they just started doing, for fun, just kind of like when we started this podcast, it was like, we love talking about sports. They love talking about sports, and they want to do it, and they built it into a great thing.
Yeah.
And that's why we're glad that it's going to keep going. But I totally understand the need to step back, especially, like you mentioned your kid, when you have a loved one or, whether it's your girlfriend, whether it's your wife or whatever, you're not going to get a lot of those times. And this job never stops.
Never.
Especially when you're trying to set up interviews. And boy, I felt his pain talking about setting up interviews and you sit around and wait and then it gets canceled. And you already canceled your other plans.
Yeah.
That your own personal plans.
And with those guys in Australia, the time
difference
is weird. So they're like waking up at like 5 a.m. to do an interview.
And then to not get it would be just devastating. And you got to take care of yourself. I mean, like he has other things going on. I'm happy for him. They built something great that's going to last.
Yep.
And there's no reason he can't join 100%. And hop on in the future. It's not like he's saying a goodbye forever. I imagine he's just like, I got to step back from the day to day so I can focus on what's important, and that's his health, and that's his family, and that's amazing. But yeah, I love those guys. I mean, every time we've been lucky enough to go down there and hang out with those guys, it's always a blessing to see those guys. They're absolutely amazing guys. I'm so glad it's going to keep going forward. But yeah, what they built into it it's amazing. It's commendable, and but yeah, man, all the best for him, and I'm really, really happy that it's continuing. I'm happy that he's going to get the time off that he needs.
100%. Continued success to Dennis and continued success to Casper in or out of the MMA game.
I love their fucking accents, man. Like every time I listen to their shows, they have great equipment, so it sounds really, really good.
Yep.
But their accents, every time I hear like a commercial or something, I'm always like, it doesn't sound as good as my boys.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure, man. I wish I was going to Perth so I could see them. I know Casper's going to be in Perth, but maybe I can make it to an Australia show next year and run into them.
That would be fun.
I'd love to see them for sure. So, all right, listen, we got busy days ahead. So we'll go to the press conference here in a little bit, Hall of Fame, red carpet. Then tomorrow, the expo is underway. We've got the official weigh-ins, the ceremonials, all that. And then, of course, Saturday, it is the big one, UFC 303 International Fight Week concludes. For everyone over at patreon.com/MMA Roadshow, of course, we will have an and-a-half version wrapping up all the action after Saturday's event. For everybody else, we appreciate you spending your time with us and, giving us a little bit of attention. Hopefully you enjoy the ride, and thanks for listening.